Welcome to episode 550 of AI Brief. We are thrilled you are joining us today because we have a massive roadmap ahead for this deep dive. We are kicking things off with the geopolitical tug-of-war over frontier AI access.
Which is heating up incredibly fast.
It really is. And from there, we are shifting into the physical world to look at some, well, massive commercial movements in the robotics space.
That is going to be a fascinating segment.
I agree. And then we are wrapping it all up with the best practical AI tools that you can use to boost your own productivity today.
You know, today's stories perfectly illustrate this really rapid shifts we're seeing. We're moving away from all those theoretical AI discussions and plunging straight into immediate real-world market consequences.
Absolutely.
Whether we were talking about software sovereignty or, scaling physical hardware, the experimental phase is just definitively over.
It is over. And that transition from theory to market reality is probably most striking right now in the software space.
Without a doubt.
We are seeing the U.S. government stepping in and significantly throttling access to frontier AI models. And for anyone listening who might not be steeped in the day-to-day terminology, a frontier model is just the bleeding edge of AI.
The really massive systems.
Precisely. The ones that require billions of dollars in specialized computer chips just to train. And recently, what started as a policy debate has really morphed into severe market shock therapy.
It is completely altering global technology strategies.
It is. Take Anthropic as the prime example here. Their highly capable Mythos 5 and Fable 5 models were just heavily restricted.
Cut off almost entirely at first.
Yes, and we are seeing that Mythos is now returning to the market, but strictly on a limited, gated basis. It is only available for users working within critical infrastructure sectors.
Which leaves a lot of enterprise users completely out in the cold.
It does, especially regarding Fable 5. That is the broader, high-demand model that companies actually want to build their businesses on. It remains the central flashpoint in this whole standoff.
Although there might be some movement there soon.
There might be. We are seeing reports from Reuters and Axios indicating that the U.S. might be inching closer to allowing Anthropic to restore access to Fable 5.
But honestly, the damage to trust is already done.
That is such a crucial point. And, it is not just Anthropic dealing with this. OpenAI is navigating the exact same regulatory minefield.
With their new GPT 5.6 model.
Yes. They are actively limiting access to GPT 5.6, keeping it restricted to a very small, thoroughly vetted circle of trusted partners. And this is entirely due to a specific government request.
Even though OpenAI has been pretty vocal about not wanting this to become the norm.
They have warned publicly that this kind of restricted, politically gated rollout should not become the default standard for future releases. But regardless of their warnings, the precedent is pretty much set.
It is a massive shift in how these tools are distributed globally.
To put it in perspective, imagine waking up tomorrow and your country's access to electricity has just been shut off. Not by a storm, but by a stroke of a pen in Washington.
That would cause immediate panic.
Complete panic. And the reaction would not just be to politely ask for the power back. It would kick off a frantic trillion-dollar race to build your own power plants.
Which is exactly what we are seeing with artificial intelligence.
It is an oil blockade for the digital age. Cutting off the supply of frontier models does not magically erase the global demand for advanced AI. It just forces the rest of the world to immediately drill their own digital wells.
And that is why this blunt force restriction strategy from Washington might actually backfire spectacularly.
How so?
Well, by attempting to unilaterally lock down access, they are accelerating the exact scenario they fear most. They are driving the rapid development of robust, independent regional AI ecosystems.
Ecosystems that bypass American laboratories entirely.
Completely. Every single time a major model rollout is delayed or restricted by political intervention, it sends a crystal clear signal to international enterprise leaders.
A signal that reliance on U.S. infrastructure is dangerous.
Definitely. It teaches them that U.S. model access is conditional, it is political, and it is entirely reversible, which is a massive gift to regional rivals who are now selling sovereignty and continuity.
And we are seeing those regional rivals step up immediately. Look at Japan. Sakana AI just launched a new model called Fugu, and they're explicitly positioning it as a hedge against sudden U.S. export controls.
They are focusing on efficiency rather than just raw scale.
They have to. They do not have access to the same massive hordes of American hardware. So Fugu is built as an orchestration model. It delegates tasks to smaller, specialized models instead of trying to be one massive brain.
Which is incredibly clever.
It is, and that same defensive posture is playing out in China. The tech giant 360 has unveiled a suite of new cybersecurity-focused AI tools.
Designed for automated vulnerability discovery, I believe.
Yes, and cyber defense. But the fascinating part is how Beijing is treating it. They are not framing this as just a commercial product release. They are openly treating this advanced cyber AI as a national strategic asset.
So, if software is becoming this localized lockdown fortress, what happens when that artificial intelligence actually needs a physical body?
That is the million-dollar, or I should say trillion-dollar question. Let us shift gears into the commercial robotics space because the capital expenditures happening there are staggering. Leah, I will hand this over to you.
Thank you. So the momentum in commercial robotics right now is it is really moving at a breakneck pace. We are tracking a fascinating acceleration.
It feels like we crossed a threshold very suddenly.
It did, and it starts with Agility Robotics.
Yeah.
This is the company behind the bipedal humanoid robot known as Digit. They are officially heading to the public markets through a massive $2.5 billion SPAC deal.
Which means Wall Street is finally getting its first pure-play humanoid robotics stock at a massive valuation. That is a huge psychological milestone for investors.
It is. And practically speaking, this transaction is significant because it injects Agility Robotics with over $620 million in fresh capital.
That is a lot of runway.
A tremendous amount. And that money is earmarked specifically to scale their physical production lines. They are not just tinkering with prototypes anymore.
They are moving to mass deployment.
They are. Agility has already secured more than $300 million in pre-orders for the next generation version of Digit. They are betting aggressively on a $1 trillion market opportunity.
It is amazing to see bipedal robots finally become commercially viable after all these years of wheeled warehouse robots.
Well, the shift from specialized design to operating in human-centric environments is crucial.
Right.
And that mirror is exactly what is happening in autonomous transportation.
Moving from the warehouse to the streets?
Precisely. Zoox is currently preparing for the mass production of its proprietary Robotaxi.
And Zoox is the company doing the carriage-style design, correct?
They are. They completely redesigned the vehicle from the ground up, and they are scaling up manufacturing, establishing a target producing up to 100 of these vehicles per week at their facility in California.
100 a week is a serious manufacturing cadence.
It is a very aggressive cadence. Their goal is to begin welcoming public riders later this year. They are making a direct play for the market dominance currently held by Waymo.
Especially since Waymo is rolling out its new Ojai vehicle right now, the Robotaxi race is abruptly moving out of that endless testing phase and into aggressive commercial scaling.
It definitely is. And Zoox is betting heavily on their hardware advantages. The carriage-style design features redesigned ergonomic seating, a noticeably calmer interior to reduce passenger anxiety, and much clearer exterior cues to communicate safely with pedestrians.
Which makes it feel more like public transit and less like a science experiment.
I completely agree. And that push for full commercial control and scaling is also perfectly illustrated by Hyundai Motor Group's latest acquisition maneuver.
Ah, the Boston Dynamics deal.
Yes. Hyundai is positioned to completely buy out SoftBank's remaining 9.65% stake in Boston Dynamics for $325 million.
And this was triggered by a put option, meaning SoftBank effectively forced the sale based on a previous contract clause.
That is it. And the consequence of this financial maneuver is that Boston Dynamics becomes a wholly owned subsidiary of Hyundai.
Giving them absolute, uncompromised control over the technology.
Uncompromised control. And they are deploying it rapidly. We recently saw spot robots used for active security and logistics at the World Cup.
Oh, wow.
And even more significantly, they are utilizing the Atlas humanoid directly within their own complex car manufacturing facilities.
Actually putting it to work on the assembly line.
Exactly. So we are seeing this immense scale-up across the entire physical hardware sector.
Which brings us to a really crucial pivot for our deep dive today. We have covered billion-dollar robotics acquisitions and the geopolitical battles for AI sovereignty. But I want to bring all of this back to your desktop.
The tools you can actually use today.
That is it. The market is flooding with new applications designed to boost your daily productivity. So let us cut through the noise and look at the best trending tools.
Where should we start?
Let us start with Agent Arena. The big problem with AI agents is trust. If you are going to let an AI run your workflows, you need to know it will not break everything.
Nobody wants an autonomous agent going rogue on their emails.
Absolutely not. So the practical use case for Agent Arena is rigorous benchmarking. It is a public arena where you can safely test and evaluate different AI agents against complex tasks before you trust them with your actual business data.
It is like a sandbox for interviewing your software.
That is a great way to put it. Now, once you do trust your AI, you want a tool like Gemini Spark. This is a 24/7 personal AI agent.
It's running constantly in the background.
Yes. The use case here is seamless task management. Instead of you manually sorting priority emails or tracking project deadlines, Gemini Spark manages that daily administrative load for you.
Freeing you up for deep work.
Definitely. Now, the next tool is Note.md. This one is incredible for anyone dealing with scattered research and information overload.
I know a lot of people struggle with that.
So Note.md takes your personal notes, your PDFs, your research docs, and it turns them into a localized, large language model memory bank.
Completely localized on your own machine.
Entirely. You process everything locally, which protects your privacy. The practical use case is instant knowledge retrieval. You just query your own private archive using natural language to connect abstract concepts across your own work.
Which perfectly mirrors that macro trend we discussed earlier.
The sovereignty aspect.
Yes. Users are prioritizing localized, highly contextualized AI over generic models. And that applies to enterprises too, especially with tools like Atlas.
Atlas is a game changer for businesses. The use case there is injecting your company's specific business context into your AI tools.
So the AI actually understands your internal documentation.
Absolutely. Instead of generic advice, Atlas ensures your AI provides relevant, tailored answers based on your unique business logic.
It makes the AI actually useful for specific corporate workflows.
It does. And speaking of workflows, fragmentation is a huge issue. We all jump between a dozen different apps. Module X solves this by creating a unified AI workspace.
Pulling everything into one place.
Yes. The use case is workflow consolidation. It connects across your various siloed tools so an AI can execute actions across all of them from one centralized interface.
That saves so much friction.
And finally, we have Base Dash for Excel. This transforms static, boring Excel files into live, AI-powered, interactive dashboards.
For people who live in spreadsheets.
And for people who have to present that data, the use case is turning rows of raw data into dynamic visual interfaces just by asking questions in plain English. Base Dash instantly generates the corresponding charts.
It is amazing how all these tools really focus on bringing the power of AI down to a hyper-specific, localized level.
They do. And as we look at these converging trends, from national governments spending billions to secure their own sovereign AI systems to individual enterprises building localized tools on private servers, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
It is a big shift to process.
It is. For the last few years, we have assumed that the future belonged to just 2 or 3 massive tech monopolies providing intelligence like a universal public utility. But given this intense geopolitical fracturing and the explosive rise of these secure, localized tools, ask yourself, is the era of relying on one massive, centralized AI provider already secretly over?
That is a fascinating question to consider.
We encourage you to follow the podcast on your preferred platform, and please share episode 550 with a colleague who needs to stay ahead of these massive industry shifts.
Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.
See you in the next episode.